her golden eyes. I nearly dropped my flashlight when I came across the stairs leading to the third floor. Sprawled on the steps was an old, withered skeleton. The body was wearing a varsity jacket from the 50s. It was stained in blood, long since dried up. There were 3 vertical slash marks up the back of the jacket. I stood there, staring at the body, my breathing heavy. I couldn't imagine what had made this. I moved closer to the skeleton, half expecting it to reach out to grab me, but it remained stationary. I could hear creaking coming from upstairs. I backed away from the stairs slowly, shutting off my flashlight. I was in near complete darkness, with only a couple beams of moonlight coming in from the boarded-up window. The creaking was growing louder and louder. A heavy breathing sent shivers down my spine. I held my breath, clutching my chest in a desperate attempt to try and silence my racing heartbeat. I heard a loud crack. I flattened myself against the wall. Whatever was nearby was huge. I could hear the breathing above me, nearly reaching the ceiling. I was already in darkness, but I shut my eyes regardless. I tried to make myself as small as I could. Hopefully it wouldn't notice me. The steps drew closer, sending shockwaves through the floor. Whatever it was heavy. I feared it would break the floor and send us cascading into the void. I thought about those golden eyes of Kenzie. I had to remember what I was fighting for. The unknown beast paused by me. I had to stifle a gasp. There was cold radiating from the beast. I bit my lower lip, trying not to make even a little bit of a noise. I heard a little grunt from above me before it made an unnatural noise. Mama, it sounded like a child, possibly the same little girl from that photo. There was no way something this big could make a noise like that. Moreover, there was a slight reverb in the voice. It almost sounded mechanical. It took another step before speaking again. Mama, it matched the exact cadence of before. If this was a normal voice, there would be some subtle differences. It sounded like a recording. It took another step, then another. It said that damned word over and over, slowly growing more distant. When I heard the heavy steps turn a corner and get a comfortable distance away, I shined my light on the skeleton. The skull had been shattered into pieces. Perhaps the beast had stepped on it. I began to slowly ascend up the stairs, careful to tread on the tips of my toes. My heart skipped a beat whenever the steps would creak. When they did, I had to pause and listen for that monster's return with the flashlight off. When I knew it was safe, I continued up. It felt like it took an hour to go up those steps. Eventually, I reached another hall with yet more doors. There was a rather nice-looking door at the very end. Perhaps that was the master bedroom. I crept forward, peeking in each room. I saw a spiral staircase leading to the attic, an office with another skeleton sprawled over an open safe. The corpse was dressed in what looked like 1920s gangster wear. There was an abandoned pistol nearby. The slide was pulled back, indicating it was empty. I looked behind me, wondering if the body had some spare ammo. Perhaps I could use that gun to defend myself. I decided against it. I doubted the weapon was in working order after all these years, even if the guy had extra bullets on it. Besides, despite being Texan, I had never fired a gun in my life. Still, I didn't know whether to check the office or the master bedroom. The bear would probably be in one of those rooms. If the girl died young, which it looked like she may have, one of the parents could have kept the bear for themselves. It seemed like a very private trinket, so I guessed it might be in the office. I heard the creaking again. I slipped into the office. I didn't risk closing the door out of fear the creaking hinges would alert the beast. I tiptoed over to the body and reached in the pockets. I found the familiar rectangular shape of a switchblade. I hid under the desk, holding the knife to my chest. I shut the light off just as I heard the breathing in the hallway again. I tried to breathe as quietly as I could, but my heartbeat throbbed in my ears. It was so loud I thought the monster might be able to hear it. The creature had to know I was here. The floor shook again as the beast drew closer. As one of the feet fell, I hit the button on the knife. I felt for the blade, but it wasn't there. I put a hand over my chest to try and keep myself from hyperventilating. The creature could be heard just outside the office door. "Mama?" That echoing voice sent a shock through my system. I reached out slowly, feeling around the drawer of the desk. I peeked out a little. I could see a slice of moonlight shining in the hall from the open door. I took the useless switchblade, pulling it back. I lobbed it as hard as I could, careful not to make a sound. The handle flew and smacked into the hallway wall. The creature began to move further down the hall, granting me a few precious seconds. I slid the drawer open and plunged my hand in. I felt something soft, so I grabbed it. I could fear a round ear and 2 marble eyes. It was the bear. I found it. One had to get out of there. I heard the beast enter the master bedroom. Now was my chance. I turned the light on but kept my hand over the light. I only let a couple thin streams of light escape. I slipped into the hallway. The creature shuffled around in the bedroom. I started creeping towards the stairway. I was chewing on my lower lip at this point from the stress. Then, there was silence. It had spotted me. I started rushing down the stairs. There was an explosion of sound as the creature took chase. It was making a beeline straight towards me. I didn't bother hiding my light. I rushed down the steps 3 or 4 at a time. The monster was faster than me, but it wasn't as agile. I felt the staircase shake as the creature slid to a stop. When I finally descended the stairs, I tore down the hall. I heard the beast crash down at the base of the steps. It was getting closer. I could feel the breathing on the back of my neck. It was cold, sending shivers down my spine. I turned a corner into the girl's room. I felt a sharp pain slicing into my calf. I didn't have time to scream. I pulled myself in. The creature slid to a stop again, but the cracking from the door frame told me it had caught itself. It was about to come inside. I collapsed on the bed, placing the bear on the dress. There was silence. I looked behind me. There was a deep gash on the door frame made up of 3 vertical slashes, just like the body on the stairs. However, there was no sign of the creature, yet I could feel I was not alone. I saw her in her full glory. Despite the darkness, she wore a thin dress of spider silk. Her skin was black as ink. Her joints were segmented. She had no hair on her head, but her face was dotted with many red eyes. Her fingers were long and spindly, and many threads extruded from the tips. I felt no evil coming from her, just an ancient aura that was far beyond my comprehension. She came to me, her feet making tiny clicks against the wooden floor, and bound my wound in silk. She didn't speak a word, just gave me a knowing nod. My wish had been granted. I left the house and drove away from that place. I drove until I could no longer. I slept on the side of the road. When I finally got home the next evening, there was an unfamiliar car awaiting me in the driveway. Someone was sitting on the hood. She looked up as I drove up. Her eyes were dark. When I got out, she came up to me, tears running down her cheeks. She was a bit taller than me, long dark blonde curls flung over one shoulder. I couldn't see her eyes, nor did I recognize the form she took, but I recognized the pink lip gloss she wore on our first date. Kenzie and I held hands, not saying a word for a long time. There was so much she wanted to tell me, but there would be time for that later. She was only able to choke out to words that night. Thank you. We embraced, never to be apart again. Although I would always miss her golden eyes, I was thankful she was in my life again. Kenzie's old vessel was released from prison. It didn't make the news, but I received a photo of her on a beach in a red waitress uniform. On the back of the picture, written in Sharpie, was "Thank you for giving me my life back." I felt a pang of guilt remembering what she had been through. I checked the logo on her shirt to see if I could find the restaurant she was working at. It looks like she's living in California now. Additionally, the vessel Kenzie is currently in is a woman who's been in a coma her whole life. Her spirit had long since passed on to the great beyond. Kenzie and I are getting remarried soon. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and follow my other socials.